Hello, welcome to the tutorial on creating a multiplayer game using the MooClick extension and ClickTeam Fusion 2.5 Developer Edition. My name is Illuminati, and I'll be your host for this tutorial. I want to thank my creator for allowing me to host this video. Please subscribe and like, it helps him a lot. For your first frame, you will need 3 edit object box and name each one to IP address, username, and chat text. You will need a rich text box object, name that to just chat. You will also need 2 active objects, name one to player, and the other active object to remote player. Add the string parser to your frame, and also the MooClick object. You will also need 4 buttons and a string. Name the buttons, host, join, disconnect, and send. And now let's go ahead and run our application. We can get a quick glimpse of what our frame should look like before we start tying everything in together. As you can see, currently we have 0 functionality of any of the frame's objects other than their initialization at the start of the frame. Now the fun begins. Make sure to rename your objects accordingly so that they are easily identifiable within the frame editor. Next, we will go to our event editor. To make things a bit easier for myself, I hid a few of the system function buttons so that they are out of the way. You can also view what objects are hidden and can unhide them as needed. Here, we can see we have all the objects we added to our frame. We have our player, our remote player, the string parser, MooClick, our 4 buttons, our 3 edit boxes, and our rich text box. One option that I've found extremely useful when working within the event editor would be the event toggle mode by pressing the Ctrl+T key on your keyboard or by clicking here. The way this mode works is you have your condition on the top, followed by the actions you want for that condition. What's great about using this mode is that you will be able to view exactly how your applications runs by the way you have your conditions and events listed in the order displayed here. Which the order can and does play an important part of your game or applications. Make sure to constantly save your work, especially after working with events. When working with events, it's a good idea to group your game or application events into their corresponding usage within your project. You can create a group of events by clicking on the number of the new condition and selecting the Group of Events option within the Insert sub-menu. We will name this group the following: Runtime, and click OK. Being I already have a condition and event created, I can then left-click and drag the action and move it under the Runtime Group Events. Now we can create our first action. We will then select our player object and select Destroy. Now right-click on the Destroy action and select the Add option. Then give the same action for the remote player. We right-click on Last action, select Add. Then select the string parser object. Hover the mouse over List Tokenizing, then hover over Delimiter. Click on Add Delimiter. For our delimiter, we will use the comma enclosed by quotes. So at start of the frame, destroy the player object, the remote player object, then add delimiter of comma to string parser object. If you will now select the event toggle mode or press Ctrl+T on your keyboard, you can see that the events are listed as if you were not using the event list mode setting. Let's go ahead and turn it back on. I just wanted to share the difference between the 2 modes. So to revise as to what we did here, you are telling your game that at the start of the current frame, destroy both the player, remote player object and then add the delimiter string, comma, to the string parser. Now add another action to condition number 2, which will set the text inside of our IP address edit box. Right-click, then hover your mouse over editing, and click on Set Text. So for our set text expression, we will type the following, quote, IP address as one word. Click on OK. Next, click on Add, select the username edit box object, then Editing, followed by clicking on Set Text once again. For this set text action you will use the following expression. Quote, username, quote. Okay, now you have added 2 more actions to your condition. One action that will set the text inside of the IP address edit box, and then setting the text inside the username edit box to username. Now, we will add another action to disable the disconnect button at the start of our game. Select your disconnect button and click on Disable. What this does is, it will grey out the button at the start of the game, being we aren't hosting or joining a game yet. Next, you're going to set your chat box to read only. Right-click, select Add, select your rich text edit object. Go down to Control, then select Read Only, and set to On. Great job, good sir. This takes care of all the actions you'll need at the start of your game. Let's recap on what we did with our start of frame condition. At the start of the game, the first group of events will be the runtime group. That group will execute the following actions after the frame and objects are loaded. At the start of the frame, destroy the player object, destroy the remote player object, set your delimiter to use a comma, set the text for IP address box to IP address, set the username edit box to username, disable the disconnect button, and finally set the chat box to read only. Now that you are done with this condition, go ahead and save your work. With your project saved, run the application located here. You can see, both the player and remote player objects are destroyed. You don't see them in your game at this time, and if you click within the chat box, you won't be able to type anything yet as we are not connected or hosting a game, which in turn, as you can see, the disconnect button is disabled. You can also see that your IP address and username have text inside their box. Once you are satisfied, go ahead and close the test application, and if you haven't done so yet, then save your project before moving on to our next group of events you will need for your game.